Ladies and gentlemen, all our viewers across the globe, let me take you straight to the Melbourne studios of M4TV with Let's Connect. The world is being tackling due to the same single situations. Let it be from New York or Milan. Let it be United Kingdom or New Delhi. Let it be Melbourne or Afghanistan. The same thing is being happening. COVID-19 or Corona. It has been drastically affected the whole world into a great sequence. The big airports have been closed. The multinational great cities have been shut. The main economy has been ruined. The people, the world is being fighting hard to make it eradicate, that make the world to be safe again. But let me tell you all our viewers, Australia, the country, has been done really great. More than 85% of the active cases in Australia has been cured. As per, we have been trying hard to flatten the curve. And we will say that, yes, we have done really great job, great leadership, especially from the state of Victoria and the country of Australia. We have done really a great job. For today on Let's Connect, from the Melbourne studios of M4TV, we have a very great special personality. An Australian great politician, has been a Labour Party member of the Victorian Legislative Assembly since November 2018. Currently representing the seat of Cranbourne as a Member of Parliament. We would love to welcome Ms. Pauline Richards to Let's Connect on M4TV. Great. Good evening, Ms. Pauline.
Oh, good evening. I'm very pleased to be here. I feel quite honoured.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time. It's a blessing that a Member of Parliament is being over here, spending some time for our viewers. How's the lockdown systems are being going on as a Member of Parliament in your constituency and especially in your personal life?
So like lots of people, I'm at home, working from home. I represent the state seat of Cranbourne, which is about 50 kilometres southeast of Melbourne. And we are making sure that we all work together. We're making sure that we are staying at home, working from home, and only leaving our homes for essential reasons. So things like exercise, work, just for caregiving, so making sure that we only leave the house when we need to get emergency supplies. And so like lots of people, I'm at home with my family and making sure that I undertake all the tasks associated with being a Member of Parliament from home. So for the last few weeks, I've actually been quite consumed with calling people in my electorate and making sure everyone's okay. So things are going very well in Victoria and in Australia, as you have identified in your introduction, and we're working very hard together to flatten the curve. Absolutely.
I believe at this scenario, when I had been checking 15 minutes back, 805 more active cases in Australia. And Australia has been doing really great, flattening the curve. What's your points, your views on that?
Yes, we are all absolutely working very hard. People are educating their children at home. So we have our teachers doing a terrific job. We're making sure that remote and flexible learning options are available for children. My oldest daughter is a teacher actually, and so she is educating the children in her charge from home as well, and making sure that children have all the tasks that they need to complete what they need for their education. So I think that one of the reasons that we've been so successful is because we have taken strong and decisive action, making sure that people do take those steps that are necessary. It's not always been easy, so it's an opportunity for me to thank people actually for the tasks that they have been, the way that they've actually had to change their lives. And so, of course, one of the keys to our success has been our terrific healthcare workers. We have frontline workers who are working day and night to keep us safe, and a really key and important ingredient is that we are rolling out testing. We have a target to have an extraordinary number of tests, 100,000 tests undertaken, and I can report to you that only 2 days ago I had a test done at one of the local clinics, and the results were texted to me within just the last half hour before joining this conversation to say that I have a negative test result, which is great news. So the key is staying at home, working from home if we can. We've been educating our kids remotely, and we have rolled out in Victoria an extraordinary blitz on testing. And in big news, we can often get tests done in supermarkets.
True.
People are having drive-through tests done. Locally here in my own community, I didn't have to wait, and we have testing stations right across the state. So these are the keys to success.
That's really great. Even when I was traveling today, I have seen close to where I live, COVID-19 testing available. Over here, you have to bring your ID cards. That was really great. I thought, being a health professional myself, that's been really great service being done by the government of Victoria. So the Victorian leadership has to be congratulated. So what's your thought, to keep the state of Victoria safe? Daniel Andrews' government's involvement, the role, the leadership has helped how much?
So I think the key to the leadership has been that we have listened to expert medical advice. It's really important that the Chief Health Officer guides the decision making, and that is absolutely been a key to the success we've seen across Victoria and across Australia. Making sure that we communicate regularly, we share information, so the leadership has made sure that they've shared information as it's come to light, and absolutely communicated in lots of languages as well. One of the things I'm proud of is that we have made sure that we provide information in languages other than English, and so that has also been one of the keys to success. Good, strong, decisive leadership, making sure that the decisions are based on the best scientific research that we have at hand, and I've been very pleased to see so many people joining together, coming together and supporting each other. I would like to take the opportunity to mention and identify that Victoria has taken really important steps in supporting our international students. Victoria announced just recently a $45 million international student relief fund, and that's been important, making sure that our international students who we know have been really severely affected by those important closures of businesses, that they're able to get a relief package. So eligible students, international students, have been eligible for up to $1,100. And so these steps to support people have been also a key to our success. We need to look after each other, do the right thing, and the leadership has been in Victoria has been really extraordinarily decisive and compassionate in the approach that we've taken in this state. It's been a really important element of making sure that we do be aware that there have been some lessons learned from people in other countries, used those lessons and applied that scientific understanding to the decision making.
That's really great. Absolutely, it was really great. Based on our research, we have found from many international students that the government of Victoria's decision helping those international students at this time of need was really, really great. From whichever part of the world you are from, Melbourne especially is a great educational hub for the world, and helping in such a situation has created a great impact. Other than that, Pauline, I would like to ask, our viewers are really happy to know that most of the states, every state I would say in Australia, has moved with a few restrictions being changed, but Victoria says, our Premier says with pride, until May 11th, there's not going to be any change, and we are happy to say that, yes, he has done the right thing. That's what I believe personally. What's your thought on that?
Look, the Premier has been very clear. The state of emergency will be reviewed on the 11th of May. We have to stay the course. We know from international experience that we have to be cautious and considered. The consequences are too important. The consequences are too dire. So the Premier has been very clear that we need to wait until the 11th of May and to make a decision about what steps need to be taken next. That clear, decisive decision making has been a great comfort. I know in making these many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls every week into the electorate, people have been incredibly appreciative of that clear understanding of what is able to be done, and that's the decision that is in the best interests of our state. Recognising, of course, that different states are impacted in different ways. We are in so many ways fortunate to have a vibrant community in Victoria, but we are a very different type of community and we are a different type of state, and our experiences of the virus is different. I don't think that we can really take the same steps as perhaps those the government in the Northern Territory, who I understand are doing a terrific job themselves. But we know that the Northern Territory, what happens in the Northern Territory is very different to what happens in Victoria, and so that's why our state has taken those steps to wait until the deadline for the lifting of the state of emergency, and that is based on the best scientific and medical advice. I'm pleased to hear you're a healthcare professional, because of course one of the great gifts of our international students actually has been that many have stayed in Victoria and contributed to the Victorian economy, but also actually, at this time of great need, at a time when there's a pandemic, I am conscious that some of the great medical minds, some of the great frontline healthcare workers, our scientists, our doctors, our nurses, our paramedics, and people who are caring for people in all sorts of healthcare settings have actually come to Australia sometimes as international students in the first instance. So I did think to myself how pleased I was that the state, Victoria, could return that acknowledgement of the contribution that so many international students have made to the vibrancy of our state. But also, like I said, at a time of crisis, our international students and communities from our diaspora communities have contributed to this response to the pandemic in those most crucial professions.
Absolutely well said. Personally, even I would say that I was really blessed 10 years back looking into the track. Even I was an international student. I was blessed to be a part of Victoria, moved into as a health professional in Australia.
So you are exactly what we're talking about. Because I would like to just say, if you will indulge me for a minute, that when I first went to university a long time ago, I'm loath to give you a year, but I will say it was the early 90s. That was my first experience of developing incredibly close friendships with international students as a domestic student myself.
Great.
And in some ways, as somebody who at the time was not yet able to afford to travel overseas, international students in our own universities provided domestic students with the opportunity to open our eyes to the world. And I have always been perhaps particularly grateful that I had that opportunity as a very young commerce student at Deakin University to have those relationships with international students, and how much poorer our state would be in our if not for the gifts of knowledge and insight that have been provided by people who have chosen to study in Victoria and sometimes have fallen in love love in Victoria and have ended up, you know, starting families. And I know for so many of them, education has been such a focus, and I've enjoyed so much in Cranbourne, especially in the optimism of our community as people have done that journey, arriving in Australia, settling, having families, and then that incredible optimism that comes from researching and learning that we have a great education system. So I am digressing a little bit here. Okay. I know that we're here to talk about the COVID pandemic, but I did want to acknowledge that that is something about Cranbourne that is particularly precious, and something about Victoria that's precious, and with international students very much being on the minds of so many of us. And me as a mother of university students, thinking about what it must be like for mothers overseas and fathers overseas to have their children in Australia, even though they might be young adults, but to have their children in Australia. And I'm very proud that our government has stepped up to that role of supporting those students, because, yeah, as a mother myself, I just think that, you know, it's a terrifically important obligation.
Absolutely, that's really great to hear from you. What's your thought? You may be aware of the great work by the community organisation, especially in your area from Cranbourne, the Sikh volunteers,
yes,
and many other people who have delivered more than 800 foods per day for the past 45 days. So what's your thoughts on that, being representing them? So how would you describe their charity work?
The Sikh volunteers are the pride of Cranbourne, the pride of the southeast. So when there was some terrible bushfires only a couple of months ago, and we were counselling everyone to flee as fast as they could away from the bushfires, the Sikh volunteers immediately got in their food truck and drove towards the fires and provided food relief and support. So already they were, in my estimation, you know, the most important, but also well-known and famous members of the Cranbourne community. Then, only a couple of months ago, as this terrible pandemic arrived and the consequences of the pandemic arrived in our state, the Sikh volunteers, with hardly a break from the fire, the devastation of the fires, turned their energy and their benevolence, living their faith, towards helping people in the community who were in need. And of course, at this time, we had people who were absolutely having to isolate at home, people who were experiencing incredible difficulties, personal difficulties, and unable to get food for themselves. And the Sikh volunteers have been working around the clock. They have developed an app, and this extraordinary group of the most intelligent individuals have turned their skills to support the community by providing food. And it's not just about food, this is about justice. This is about making sure that people have access to what they need so that they can stay home if they're unwell, but also people who are living in difficult situations because they've lost their jobs. So I have a lot to say about the Sikh volunteers, and only just over a week ago I had the opportunity to present some information about the Sikh volunteers into Parliament, and I've spoken about them before, but it was an opportunity for me to share with the whole Victorian community through Parliament my great pride in the Sikh volunteers and the work that they are doing, firstly from the bushfires and now at this time of crisis. I have a meeting with them tomorrow, and I'll be looking forward to hearing again, as I already have, firsthand about what else we can do to support the work that they're doing. They are absolutely, they have put Cranbourne on the map.
Great, that's true. They're a pride of a nation. Being honest, I have to tell you, even though they come from India, they hold a pride being an Indian, and into Australia, pride being in Australia. I'm strong belief, I believe their efforts will be recognized by the Victorian government in the future. I do believe that.
Yes.
Other than COVID, I had been listening to your viewpoints. Actually, you had been a great supporter on prevention of family violence as a priority for you and Andrew's government. Would you like to explain to our viewers?
Yes, absolutely. So family violence, in fact, just to step back a little bit, before being elected, I worked as a health policy advisor, but I come from a family, my mother was a family violence worker, and family violence was absolutely something that was a priority for me before I was elected. And it was a moment of great pride for me when Daniel Andrews, when he was in opposition, actually announced that if elected, Labor would hold a royal commission into family violence. Now, since then, he had at the time committed extraordinary resources to that Royal Commission, and there were in fact 227 recommendations that came from that Royal Commission, and the government accepted all 227 recommendations of the Royal Commission and has resourced those, the response to what we know to be the great scourge of family violence, the great scourge of our time. It's been a matter of great pride to me that this has been front and centre of our government's response to what we know is the greatest law and order challenge that we face. And so we know that there are incredibly important steps we need to take, and part of that was an extraordinary resource contribution to responding to family violence, both as it happens but also prevention of family violence as well. And so I was also greatly so incredibly proud when Gabrielle Williams announced just a week and a half ago that there would be additional funding in addition to the already substantial funding that had been provided by government, but there was additional funding at this time of the pandemic for our local women's health organisations to be able to respond, recognising that these are unprecedented times. And I know that that's a phrase that's used a lot, but certainly in these unprecedented times we needed to take extra steps, and I was really pleased and proud to hear that an additional $3 million was being provided to family violence organisations to be able to respond to what we know are as I said, unprecedented, but also really unusual circumstances where it's very difficult for people to get the support that they normally would. So that's been a priority for this government all the way through, and a priority for me, both because I come from a family where I've been educated from very young about the importance of responding to family violence, and as a woman who is the first woman to be elected to Cranbourne, and acknowledging that this is an issue that is absolutely crosses all demographics. It crosses income, and education, and every suburb. We're all affected, and we need to make sure that women and children especially get the support that they need to be able to, and that the community broadly understands and has those steps in place to prevent family violence as well. So yes, it was. I was absolutely proud and relieved, I must say, that this additional funding was provided only a week and a half ago.
Absolutely, that's really great. We are really proud of you, Pauline, Member of Parliament, doing such great work even for families. And when you have mentioned Gabrielle Williams, the Minister
Yes.
for Daniel Andrews' government, right, the works being done by her, absolutely great, appreciated. The teamwork of you has to be recognized, has to be appreciated. Earlier to our conversation, as you had been mentioning before we and the show were here, you're looking forward going to God's own country, Kerala, very soon, I believe. What's your...
God's own country, Kerala, was absolutely a priority place for me to visit. I had plans to visit Kerala this year. So I'm now not sure what when travel restrictions will be lifted, but it's certainly been a place that I have been investigating and exploring. It's the beauty of of nature in Kerala looks extraordinary. My husband's a bird watcher, and he's quite enthusiastic about the natural beauty in Kerala as well. So every time I meet a Keralite, a person from Kerala, and I'm very fortunate in Cranbourne to have had the opportunity to meet many people from Kerala, I always check that God's own country is still a place that is at the centre. I assure people that it's at the centre of our hearts, and that I'm very much looking forward to visiting. It's a place that is absolutely at the top of my list.
Absolutely, truly, it's still God's own country, 100% literate state in the country of India. Believe me, you would love, from the wildlife sanctuaries to the boatings to the beaches and to the people of Kerala. You would definitely love that. And definitely
my experience of my experience of people from Kerala in my own community is actually what piqued my interest. So I understand with places like Sri Lanka that I have visited, sometimes you go for the first time because of the natural beauty, but you return for the people. And so it is the people who I have met from Kerala who have prompted me through my own experiences of hospitality to explore that as a place to visit, which is why it was the place I was planning to visit this year.
Absolutely. As a member of Parliament, do let us know when's your next travel plan to Kerala. We would love our government to welcome you in really a great style. You know, you will definitely love the great visit to the God's own country. Before we end this show, what's your general advice to the public to stay safe? What's your general advice?
Of course, we know, and we have all learnt in the last few weeks about the importance of washing our hands, about the importance of staying home to stay safe and to protect our health system. And of course, I can't help but remind each other to be kind and look after each other, to make sure that we're making telephone calls to our senior members of our families. This Mother's Day, I will be, of course, speaking to my 88-year-old mother. She says it's okay that I tell people how old she is, but making sure that we call each other, check that people are okay, be very conscious of loneliness and the fact that a telephone is a really important link to the outside world. So yes, stay home, protect our health system, save lives, make those phone calls, and be kind to each other.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Pauline Richards, for your great time connecting to the Melbourne studios of M4TV with Let's Connect on Indian Style. Thanks a lot once again. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure and an honour.
Thanks a lot.
From seed to tree, grow your business with GetUp Solutions, a creative digital agency.